Well, Sophie, if you're listening to this at all, or seeing it, I just plead you, please, darling, just come back home and just walk through that door. We all love you. Your mum, I do. Sister Sarah, Auntie Becky, all your friends at uni here in Galston, everybody you just love so much, and just come home. Wherever you may be, just come home and just don't worry about anything. Just come home. We all love you. We want to give you a big hug and just put our arms around you.
University student suicide has been steadily increasing in recent years. In the 12 months to July 2017, figures from National Statistics Office show 95 recorded suicide of university students in England and Wales. According to a survey from a paper published in 2015, suicide is deeply associated with mental health. An alarming fact is that mental health problems among university students has become worse in recent years. In 2017, there are 2.3 million students in higher education institutions in the UK. A research in the same year shows a five-fold increase in the number of students with mental health problems in the past decade. As an international student currently studying in the UK, I also suffered from mental health issues. I started to feel edgy after receiving a disappointing feedback on the course and an unexpected breakup from a relationship. I told myself everything will be fine. The terrible feelings are just like symptoms of a mental cold. They would go very soon. Yet, it became worse, and the dark mood had stuck with me for nearly 2 months. Every day, I felt like a walking dead. One day, I locked myself in my room for the whole day and did nothing but crying. The other day, I went to the kitchen 10 times within an hour. I became aware that my mental health problems were influencing my life. But I chose not to tell anyone. In Chinese context, people with mental health issues are regarded as psychos. Surely, I didn't want to be called a psycho. Then, I tried to search self-help information online and followed every step they suggested. Unfortunately, none of them worked. But my attention was drawn to mental health among students. I thought knowing the situation of other people may help me to understand my own better. I posted my experience on Facebook. Some students who had similar experience contacted me and shared their stories. Olive Holden from Galston, a final year student at University of Suffolk. He has been suffering from depression since 17 years old.
But it should have been my final year, but I'm finishing it off next year.
Because of the mental health problems?
Yeah, I had a few problems around January, so I didn't finish all of my work off, which meant that the tutor said I could carry on next year.
How do your mental health issues influence your life?
My anxiety has had a big impact. I constantly worry about things which I don't need to worry about. It stops me doing a lot of things that I want to do. The same with my depression. One of the big impacts that it has had is obviously on my university work.
Sophie Smith is an acquaintance of Olive's. He confessed Sophie's death has had an impact on him.
I've been to A&E before, The first time was for trying to overdose. I've been as well for cuts which have needed medical attention, and earlier this year, after Sophie killed herself, I found that a bit hard, and I ended up having to go to hospital again for the night, again for trying to overdose. And a few months ago, I had to spend time at a mental health hospital for threatening to jump off the pier. Friends at university helped me a lot. My family helped me. The tutors, with understanding my situation, have either let me change my deadlines by a few days, or, as in the case of this year, being able to carry on half the work for next year, so I could focus on myself and get myself better before carrying on next year.
Have you got any help from the uni? I mean, is there any well-being service? Is there any mental health service there?
One of the tutors mentioned last year that the university currently had nothing in place. If uni provided the service, then yeah, I would have tried to get help from them. But at university, they didn't really seem to have anything in place.
Another student, Judy, a name she prefers to call herself, told me her story. Judy is an international student from China who studies education at University of East Anglia.
你是什么时候发现自己有精神健康方面的问题的？
大概小半年之前吧，就开始觉得，如果遇到了一些不是很顺心的事情，会不知道怎么处理。就是如果什么事情让我觉得不顺心、不顺利，我没有办法就达到我期望的结果的话，我会一开始是会觉得很着急、手足无措，后来慢慢的会出现一些心理上到生理上的反应，有时候会觉得喘不过气，甚至还会有过恶心啊、反胃这些。
Judy said she calms her nerves by taking pictures.
一般是会选择和朋友倾诉一下。
She told me the reasons why she doesn't want to talk to the university about her mental issues.
我觉得学校的心理健康咨询没有具体的每一个学生吧，就像我收到的邮件也都是群发的，就是并没有了解，学校并没有对自己的学生那么的了解。
There are also people who would face a problem and take actions. Marwa Ramsey, a nature science graduate who now devotes herself in helping students on mental issues. 1 year ago, she set up a counseling service website for students.
So what makes you want to start the mental health counseling service for students?
Well, I think it started off so a lot of my friends were suffering with mental health problems, didn't know where to go, and then they'd always complain to me, when they want to apply for medical services, actual medical services, they either are too expensive or the waiting list is too long. So my mum's also got the degree in counselling and psychology, so we wanted to kind of provide a service which was suitable for everyone, didn't have a waiting list, but was still professional service.
Have you ever suffered from mental health issues?
Yeah, so when I was younger, my dad sort of physically and mentally abused me. And so that's something I wouldn't say I'm over, but I kind of moved forward from. Sorry. Sorry. Wow, as you can see, I'm still dealing with it. But I guess my method of coping is to leave those things in the past and just move forward. I try to focus every day when I wake up, try to focus on how can I move forward, where can I go from here, focus on my career, but obviously it still hurts. And it's definitely something that doesn't matter like how much you try and forget or how much you try and do things, it does affect your daily life. And this is why mental health is so important. And obviously crying because it's had a big impact. But my way of dealing with it anyway is just sort of try and every time you wake up, every time you feel sad or feel low, is just look at your current situation and look how far you've come and how well you've done. And also the people around you. A lot of the time, like, you don't realise the support that you have around you. You can find things like my mum, my friends, just people, and having those connections, strong connections with people, is one of the ways that I cope.
I may say maybe this is one of the reasons you want to start the.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's just it's so important. Everyone's always like physical health, go to the gym, do this, do that, you know, eat well, but they forget that mental health is really important and it impacts every single day, and it's just as important as physical health. So my own experiences and sort of experiences of friends as well, and it is all a motivation to start this. Yeah.
Meanwhile, a lot of headlines characterize institutions of higher education as toxic. Since October 2016, there has now been 10 students' deaths in University of Bristol. These negative titles can be a huge passive influence on universities. Does higher education make students' mental health worse? So, what do universities do to support students' battle against mental health conditions? Claire Pratt, the Wellbeing Manager at the University of East Anglia, answered some questions about current situation of student mental health.
So a number of students declare mental health difficulties, so students who have already had a diagnosis of mental health problems or have been experiencing difficulties for 6 months to a year, so they're able to declare officially their mental health problems as a disability. So they're then entitled to various different areas of support, so they're able to access disabled students allowance, which gives them access sometimes to equipment, to specialist mentors, so somebody to sort of support them through their university career. We also are able to do, on a practical level, a number of things. So we have a number of students who officially declare mental health problems in that way under the disability legislation. There's also a vast number of students who will at some point at university experience difficulties with their well-being and their mental health, not necessarily at a diagnosable level, but that's something that the university is trying very hard to sort of move forward in terms of educating students about how they can manage difficulties at perhaps a less clinically significant level.
In fact, the main reasons for most students' mental health conditions are related to coursework and families.
So people think, oh, university will be great, and then actually the reality is, you know, you haven't got the support of family and friends in your local area. There's lots of things that you need to learn how to do. So being away from home, being homesick can be really quite challenging for students. We also find students, like anybody within the population, could have had any kind of experience in their lives that have caused them to experience a decline in their mental health. So it might be issues with relationships, it might be that they've had something unpleasant happen to them in their life, so they might have experienced some form of sexual assault, for example. It might be that they've experienced bullying, or you know, that they've got a mental illness or sort of difficulties with their mental health that really is quite chemically based. So a depressive illness, for example, or a bipolar illness really is, for a lot of people, very much about the imbalance of the chemicals. So it's many reasons, although we do see sort of certain clusters, I suppose.
How many students report their mental health issues in past year, and how about in recent years? Is there any tendency? Is it a rise or drop?
there's a tendency for the number to be increasing. So at this very moment, the Student Support Service is supporting, I've got my numbers written down here, about 280 students with mental health problems or mental health issues. There is a steady increase year on year with people coming forward for support around mental health. That mirrors what's happening in the wider population. So generally, there is an increase seen in the NHS and other services around sort of mental health. That's risen quite dramatically in the last 5 years. So the increase of that for the student population makes sense, and it's, if you look at it as a whole, it's actually very positive, because the increase to me, or to my mind, would be twofold really. There are increased pressures on young people today that are having quite a significant impact on their well-being that perhaps weren't present for people a couple of generations ago. But also the stigma attached to mental health and declaring mental health issues and asking for support is very positively reducing, so people are feeling much more able to come forward.
Compare with domestic students and international students, and so how about the mental health issues? Which group has more issues on that?
That's a very difficult question to answer. What we tend to find is that some groups of international students find it very difficult to come and access support, or feel that it isn't appropriate for them to disclose that they're having difficulties. We obviously all come from different backgrounds and different countries, different cultures, have different understandings and different feelings, I suppose, about mental ill health and whether it's something that's acceptable or should, help should be sought for. So we tend to see more home students come through to the Student Support Service, but I don't necessarily think that's because there's more issues for home students. It might be that actually it's about people feeling comfortable to do that, going back to one of your earlier questions about who feels comfortable, who feels safe to come through and talk to somebody about their issues. So again, that's something that we are trying to be quite thoughtful at the moment. It's another international students or another group of students that we want to think very creatively and very, very thoughtfully about how we engage them, how we can help them to know when to come and seek help and feel comfortable in doing so.
你有想过向学校求助吗？
我知道我们学校有这样子的学生工作，但是我个人不是很倾向找学校去说。
为什么呢？
因为我不擅长和一个比较陌生的人讲我自己的比较细节的一些事情。
So that's something that we're very aware of, and we've been thinking about quite a lot in the last 6 months, certainly since I've been in post. So we're doing a number of things really. We are trying to reach those students who don't necessarily want to come into the centre and see us to talk about those things in a less direct way. So for example, we're doing some training with the academic advisors. So the academics and the people in the school who the students will be in contact with much more regularly have a better understanding of mental health and well-being issues, and can either offer the student some support themselves, or can maybe talk to the student about the benefits of getting support from the Student Support Service and what's available, so to maybe make it feel less intimidating, I suppose, and less worrisome. We've also started to deliver quite a lot of group-based workshops, so they feel much more like a seminar environment for students, where a group of students will come and we will do a workshop around how we maintain our well-being, how we look after our mental health, how we develop more appropriate and helpful coping strategies when we're feeling either distressed or overwhelmed. And that environment suits students often who don't want to talk one-to-one in detail about their own personal issues, because it allows them to gain more personal understanding and gain some strategies and some ideas about how they might cope, but without necessarily having to share. So that's something that seems to be working quite nicely at the moment. So this is one of the online web pages that we direct students to. Sometimes it's got some really positive and helpful self-help material, so it might be that they come to see us.
In 2015, the Student Union launched the Honesty Project. The survey revealed a disturbing picture, with only 6% of postgraduate research students reporting no mental health issues. Thus, UEA is working on a £300,000 project to research and pilot innovative approaches to support the mental health and well-being of PGR students. How about for bachelor's and PGT students?
The bulk of the student support services and the support that we offered is tailored and aimed towards that group of students. We're always sort of reviewing that, we're always wanting to evaluate that. So one of the things we're looking for doing next year is how do we evaluate better the services that we offer to undergraduate and master's students. Actually, is it successful? Is it working for them? So looking at how do we get feedback from students in a much more sort of robust way than we do at the moment, to inform the services that we offer. But essentially the bulk of student support, the bulk of the wellbeing service is aimed at that group of students, and it was felt that the PGR students maybe were slightly outside of that for a number of reasons, hence the sort of different approach with that group. But it will benefit both groups.
This April, UEA has received around £12,000 of national funding to expand its support for helping students fighting mental health conditions. That is a great improvement to support students' mental health issues. However, some problems still exist. The new project with Sports Park, which tackles students' mental health through exercise, only provide free sessions to students. And in my experience, the well-being service of UEA Student Sport Center and Student Union were really slow to reply. Besides, UEA at present stage doesn't have an outreach or aftercare service for students.
The reason why I think from an education perspective this is important for us
in
is
June
that
2018, Sam Jima, the Minister of Universities, set to announce key measures to try to help students in mental health crisis during their studies.
The work we started. There are now example lesson plans to go with the PSHE Association guidance on teaching about mental health, and these are lessons.
Universities still need to take an active approach to improve the quality of well-being service for students. As for students, we need to talk more about our issues and realize there should not be a stigma surrounding mental health.